What is up, guys, and welcome back to Daily Drives. Now, I've never really been over the moon when it comes to hatchbacks. They're just not really something I would consider buying. I don't live in a region where it makes sense for me to go out and get one. However, there are very good cars when it comes to city living or city driving. Renault Meganes, in general, they've always been a little bit of the black sheep of the lineup, so to speak. They've never really captured the true essence of what its rival was able to produce. However, Renault has now decided to team up with its sport division to create this, the Megane GT. Now, the exterior of this car is bold, very bold. It's very apparent that the guys at the Renault Sport division had a lot of fun and made a lot of change when it came to the design, especially when it comes to previous models. Speaking of the Renault Sport guys, they are also the ones who developed the RS edition, which is the spiciest edition of the two. The GT and the RS kind of share a few similarities. I mean, definitely in terms of the way they look. The RS, granted, is a little wider and looks a little bit more butch, so to speak. And the GT is a little bit more refined, so you've got this very design-oriented headlight structure up on the front, with the daytime running lights protruding up into the bumper, and obviously the massive Renault logo up on the front. Now, in the rear of the car, they've also made these very swooping and elegant rear taillight designs, all pointing towards the central Renault badge with its little camera in the middle. It's also peppered with GT badges and Renault Sport badges, so it is incredibly obvious that these guys at Renault Sport were very proud of what it is they have created. Now, the exhaust system is très bien from an aesthetic standpoint. However, it does deceive you. It's made it look like it's got two exhausts. Well, it doesn't, because it's only got one on one side and it's got a plastic cover to fool you into thinking there's another. And when it comes to fooling you, the car does a little bit more than that when it comes to the interior. This is where I really like this car, because I mean, everywhere you look and everything you really touch is really well put together. The seats are Alcantara with this stylish sort of blue off finishing with the Renault Sport logo on the headrest. Everything you touch, I mean, even the flappy pedal steering, they're aluminum or aluminium, again, wherever you may be watching. Furthermore, all the dashboard material, you've got this blue simulated carbon fiber effect. I mean, it's not real carbon fiber, but it really looks good. In the middle, you've got this 8.7-inch infotainment screen. However, the moment you start touching some of the buttons, it gets a little bit confusing. I mean, you've got your navigation, multimedia, phone connectivity, which does connect to Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, however, not yet. You've got various different applications, which I'm sure a lot of them would work in Europe, not really here in Bahrain. You've got vehicle settings, and then you've also got a copious amount of driving modes that you can really run into. However, this doesn't have just normal driving modes. This has multi-sense modes. So you've got your comfort, your sport, your neutral, and your personal setup, which is individualizing your entire setup to how you would like it to be. Now, what you also notice is that all the colors change. So this becomes red, the ambient lighting becomes red, and it just gives it a much more of a sportier feel. Now, when it comes to the AC, it's a little bit annoying. Although the air conditioning in this car is incredibly good, accessing it is a little bit of a headache, because the moment you want to start pressing the buttons, you are eventually presented with your climate screen, where you can choose between soft, normal, or fast, or just hit your manual fan speed as you wish. However, again, just the positioning of it doesn't really make sense to me too much. Underneath, you've got your heated seats left and right. You've got the RS drive, your automatic start-stop, and your park assist, which is the moment you hit this button and put it into reverse, the car will park itself. Once you get behind the steering wheel, the one thing that's apparent is this digital gauge in front of you. Now, that changes the moment you change your driving mode. The moment you hit RS drive, it glows bright red. When you go into comfort, it's very much toned down. Neutral, once more toned down, and then perso, which is where you can personalize your entire screen altogether. Now, on the steering wheel, you've got left and right switches. So to the left, you've got access to your cruise control. To the right you have your phone connectivity. The one thing this car also has is the toggle switch to control the media. Now you can use this to put your volume up and down or to change song. Now I don't know why they keep putting this here, because there's more than enough space to put them on the steering wheel themselves. There's no reason to have this anymore. Furthermore, in the middle you've got this very odd sized cup holder, because it doesn't really hold a cup. It's very narrow. I mean, unless you're drinking espresso for a living, that's the only thing it will be useful for. Might probably not be the most thorough interior tech that you may find on other cars, but that's not really where this car shines, because this car is very, very good to drive. The one person who's been bothering me for the last week who hasn't been able to close his mouth about this car, Casper, I want to have this car, Casper, I want the Renault Megane, Casper, I want the Renault Megane, was my trusty co-host, who will now proceed to explain to you how he loves and loves this car.
Yes, Casper, you're right. I've been waiting to drive the Renault Megane RS for months right now, and unfortunately when we reached out to Renault there was some sort of miscommunication and we ended up with the GT, which was kind of a disappointment. So unlike the RS, it has a 1.6 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine producing 205 horsepower, but most crucially 206 pound-feet of torque, and it's quite peppy, and also has launch control. So to engage launch control, you need to stop the car, make sure you're in sport mode, hold down the brake, hold both paddle shifters together until 3 lights pop up, foot on the gas, let go of the brake, and you're off. 0 to 60 takes 7 seconds, so it's not a thoroughbred sports car, but it is quite fun to drive. I personally wouldn't use launch control because, you know, you want to launch something that's fast. So where the Megane GT loses on power, it makes up with handling. The rear wheels turn in the opposite direction when you're under 50 miles an hour, and if you exceed that speed, they will turn in the same direction, giving you more stability in high speed, but more maneuverability at the lower ones, and you can really feel it working. It just feels like the car is bending halfway, making it shorter and much more exhilarating to drive. Last week we drove the Audi R8, which is incredibly fast, and yes, it is a better car than this, but it costs 9 or 10 times more. But is it 10 times more fun? I don't think so. The steering feel is absolutely epic. You can feel everything in the road and it's properly weighted. Go into RS mode and it's even heavier and gives you a really sporty feel. All in all, it makes you want to go a lot faster than you would in any other car. It turns you into a little hooligan of sorts. It's also very light. It actually weighs less than the 370Z Nismo that we did a couple of weeks ago. You can check it out up here. And adding to all of that, it has 4 doors. It's got the back so you can throw things in it. You can drive it on a daily basis. The suspension is incredible. It holds the car on the road perfectly, but also doesn't bump you around. One thing that I noticed is that the brakes are starting to fade when you really try to push the car, and you know, there are a lot of humps here to slow people down, and whenever I have to brake and brake and brake, I'm starting to feel a little bit of fade in the brakes. So I wish they put some Brembos on this, because you could really use them in a little hot hatch like this. Renault has really upped their game for the Middle Eastern region. It gets very hot here during the summer. European cars don't really do so well. You mostly see Japanese cars because they are built tough, and Renault really had to follow up on their cars to be able to start selling them here. And the first thing that really shows that they did their research is the air conditioning. It's absolutely freezing. It's much colder than the Nissan Patrol, the 2020 Nissan Patrol that we tested. Colder than a Japanese car? Are you kidding me? They tested the brakes, they tested the engines, the air conditioning, the paint. They did so much, but yet nobody buys them. And I think I know why. See, the problem Renault has always had is that every time you say Renault, they're like, oh, it's gonna break down. Which to me doesn't really make sense. I've owned two in the past and never had any issues. But there is this aura that it's going to break down, there's something wrong with it, and there's no resale value here. Everyone's kind of afraid of going into something new, and I don't think Renault did really a good job, at least here in Bahrain, of trying to, you know, market the car. Everything about this car is about how it drives, and I think people here, if they want a driver's car, they'll just go for something else. And that really makes me sad, because these cars are a lot better than you think. Do it some justice and go out and take one for a test drive. Don't take it on the highway. Take it to one of your favorite roads. Take it somewhere where there's a corner that you like, and see what it feels like. And hopefully you'll feel what I feel every single time I get into a Megane. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Daily Drives. Make sure to leave us a like, it really helps out the video, and comment about what you think about this car. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Would you buy one, and why wouldn't you? As well as don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell notification button so you don't miss anything. Have a great day and take care.